It's the start of a week when we should finish our work on the walls on this side of the house. There is some more repointing, some finishes around the windows, and a lot of wall surface cleaning still to do, but I'm very excited about how things might look, especially after looking at some old photos and videos that I'll be sharing later on that reminded me of just how these walls used to look. And with a lot to get on with, I need to open up for when the team arrive. Which, as usual, meant opening various doors, getting tools ready, and the team's drinks cooler box in place. The literal highlight of welcoming the team on site was Haggie's shirt, which you will be seeing more of. And pretty quickly, they were getting set up for the day. Miguel and Haggie organising scaffolding and shade for the day's workstations, Sam making mortar, and Alou helping all of them. While I returned to the right-hand side and brushing old and new mortar marks off the stones there. Haggie would be making the initial mortar edges for the upper window, while Miguel and Alou would be repointing the curve and sections next to it. For nearly all of my brushing and cleaning work this week, I have tried to film the before and after look of the walls, mostly so that I can check what results my cleaning was actually achieving. After the break, we were all back to our various stations.
Atención porque ve la oportunidad, se abre paso, se acerca y coche seminuevo para que no funciona. Donde el sur del mar, el que emociona, al que desculparon entre aventuras de otras personas.
After another check on progress, I grabbed a quick lunch before heading back for the next section of stones, some of which on this wall still had some of the old cement render markings on their surface. Later in the afternoon, Miguel was working his magic on the lower part of the curve, replacing some bricks, filling in various holes and generally making it all look much smoother. And as Sam started his clearing up, the light was changing with dark clouds appearing over the hill and some rumbles of distant thunder, followed shortly afterwards by some occasional but heavy raindrops. At this time of year, all rain is very welcome, but it wasn't ideal for the next section of cleaning I was planning, especially if it was going to wash the dust all over the stones I had been cleaning. As the team were leaving, the thunder was getting nearer, and I decided to quickly blow any dust off in case more rain started to fall. I then thought the rain might not get worse, so I thought I could carry on with the machine brushing, but just as I restarted, so the rain got heavier. And the gutter, without its temporary drain in place, was soon covering the newly repointed curve with water, so I did my best to get something in place. Eventually it did clear up a bit, and I headed back out for some final wall brushing. Before running out of time and needing to head out. Overnight, it didn't rain again, but parts of the ground were still damp when I opened up at the start of day 2, although it was forecast to be a hot and dry day. So when the team arrived, one of their first tasks would be to adjust their shade sheet, especially for Haggie's work on the initial edges of the lower window, which I plan to follow more closely during the day to be able to show as much of the process as possible. In between my work on cleaning the walls and following Miguel and Alu's progress as well. Which would be made easier by the welcome return of Rex, who could share camera duties with me to start with. For Haggie's work, once he had cleared the lower bricked-in part so that he could later create the outer tile sill, he was then able to set up the metal guiding posts on the vertical edges, which he would use for creating the initial mortar lines. One of the reasons I needed to clean the right-hand section of walls as a priority was to enable Miguel to start the next phase of work on the window edges. With Miguel and Alu having almost finished repointing the curve, Alu was now preparing the walls to the left for repointing, and Rex would be doing the same further along the wall. With the brush cleaning complete, I now started acid washing the sections I hadn't done during my test last week. And after our break, we all returned to our posts. Where Haggy was now using the guiding post horizontally to create the mortar edges above the window. With the curve repointing finished, Alu would now be in charge of repointing on the walls to the left, while Miguel would be starting on the windows as soon as I had finished the acid cleaning on the right side. By late morning, Rex had finished a very good session of clearing work on his wall section, and Alu was starting his next phase of repointing. While Haggy was now working on the bottom edge of the window, first of all creating a level surface on which to place the tiles.
Hasta el 6 de septiembre, tus libros de texto para la vuelta al cole tienen premio. Adelántate.
Having finished cleaning the right-hand side, I was able to catch a quick lunch. And then get things set up for brush cleaning the left-hand side, which, to avoid covering them in dust, I could only start after the team had finished for the day.
correr, yo tengo que ir. A las día 5 yo creo ya. Más no, porque
5 de agosto.
creo que sí, 5 o 4. Depende.
After saying goodbye to the team, I could eventually get started on cleaning the next wall section. First of all, at the top, which, when you are alone, is not the easiest to film, so these clips don't really reflect the time it was taking me. Before I once again ran out of time and needed to head out. Day 3 started with another bright and hot morning, and when the team arrived, there were now 2 bright shirts on show, but Miguel confirmed he would not be adding to the number.
Buen día.
Miguel and Haggy would both be starting the day on the right-hand side on different phases of window work. And with the wind direction, we weren't sure if I would be able to finish off my surface brushing, but I got set up to see if I could, before deciding the dust would be a problem for the others and switching to the acid wash phase higher up.
Vale, muy bien. Bueno, vamos a dejarlo ahí. Carlos, vamos a jugar a mira.
Escucha lo que estabas diciendo fuera.
Fuera de contexto, escúchame. Venga, muy bien, Carlos. Venga, primero acierta, vamos a por la siguiente.
Vale,
Obra mà. Últims dies de la campanya més...
After finishing the acid cleaning on the sections I could, I now tried to see if I could brush lower down without causing problems, and tested it out after clearing some space in the rubble from Haggy's window work. But unfortunately, I was going to need to put it on hold again, as the wind was still blowing the dust onto the others. So I was going to need to do other things as Miguel worked on the windows and Haggy transferred to the front to create the mortar base on the top window. First of all, that would involve me continuing Rex's work on clearing to the left, or at least reducing the rough mortar edge on the big opening. And then I headed out for some supplies, which I had planned on picking up later. Upon my return, it was clear I now had some waiting before I could finish my cleaning. So after checking progress, there was time for some lunch, a brief tidy up of mortar from the window work above, admiring the scream of swifts at the back, and then searching for some butterflies which have mostly disappeared with the drying up of the remaining wild flowers, with the exception of some of these Provençal fritillaries. While the team started to finish up their work, there was time for some admin in the shade. And then I was able to restart cleaning the last remaining section of wall so that Miguel could work on these windows on these sections the next day. It's Thursday morning, but because tomorrow I need to be off site all day, today is going to be the last day of work for this video. And I'm a little worried that by the end of today, I might not be able to show you as clearly as I would like the end results of the work. So we'll just have to see how we get on. And with the team arriving shortly after the doors were open, the day would start with a different type of visual surprise.
No es parte del equipo, ¿eh? Yo no.
And I was a bit disappointed that my t-shirt couldn't match their brightness, which I was hoping would keep their energy levels up as they got set up on their different parts. Miguel now working on the finishes to a window edge, Haggy working on the initial edge on a window at the front, and Alu getting ready for some more repointing. I was once again playing a bit of a waiting game before I could start some final cleaning at the top of the curve. After the break, I was down to the tent for some repairs via a seriously overgrown path and steps. Before returning for a bit of manual brushing on a lower section that wasn't going to cause problems for the others. While I wait for the guys to finish their work on their current sections so that I can then do some final cleaning at the top of the curve, I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk a bit about how the walls on the entrance side of the house have developed over time, because although this repointing work has been a big chunk of work, it's been preceded by lots of other things that we've done on those walls, all of which relate to the fact that when I first bought the house, it looked like this, with nearly all the walls covered in a mix of lime and cement renders that were seriously hard to shift. And after my first attempts to clear some of that render, before I actually started the channel, they looked like this. And when I first started the channel, you may recall my fights with the render on those walls, including when I tried to clear the left-hand side, and I was a bit worried about the cracks that the render had been covering. But then after the first half of the roof work, and having the rim being in place, we were a bit more confident to do more work on the walls. First removing the old cube structure, then Miguel's fairly epic work on the corner, and then the creation of the new openings, including the big entrance work by Haggy. And then after all of that work and cleaning over the last year in particular, there was a real mix of stones and how they looked up until 2 weeks ago, when we finally removed the last of the cement render, cleared out all of the joints, and then the team could start the repointing effort to start to make those sidewalls look more uniform. And then we've had to do a lot of work on the window edging and a lot of work cleaning the surfaces to get them nearer their final look, which we're almost at now. And with a bit more work today, by the end of it, I hope to be able to show you how it's now looking. I was now able to acid wash the top of the curve because Miguel and Haggy had both now moved on to windows lower down their walls. And with Alou having finished the section of repointing, he, Sam and I started to remove some of the scaffolding to the right-hand side. And with part of the scaffolding down, I moved on to checking progress on the windows, while Sam and Alou started the cleanup for the day. Muy bien, Sam. Muy bien, Alou. Camiseta, muy bien. Vale, hasta la semana que viene. And that is the end of work for this video, although the team will be back tomorrow to carry on with some more work. And after taking down a bit more scaffolding just now, you can just about see the finished look of these walls. While on this front wall, Despite the fact of having the shade seat still in place, you can just about see the repointing work that Alu has done and some of the initial window work that Hagi has been doing. But the main work has obviously been on these side walls, and although there's still a little bit of work to do and some of the mortar around the edges of the window needs to dry, you do get for the first time a look as to how it is going to be in the future. And while I would love to be able to give you a drone's view of it all, unfortunately with this wind that's not going to be possible. So I'm just going to have to show you a couple of different angles and talk you through it. Starting here with the curve and the work that Miguel has done on blending in the stones with the various bricks that we have left in place. And then a look at the edges of the window where the upper window, the mortar has just about dried out and it's just about the color that it will be in the future. But this bottom window, which Miguel has just finished work on, has still got some drying out to do. And then this is how Miguel's edge now looks after the repointing work on both sides. And I must say, I am liking it very much. Well, one of the bits of work still to do is to get mortar on the lintel above the main entrance, but the buttress has been repointed and the two lower windows are just about at the color that they will be in the future. And then this is how these windows and the entrance look from the other side of the path. And then finally, here is a view from a bit further back, which I appreciate with the sun straight at the camera is not ideal. But after a little bit more work next week, when I'm back on site, I'll try and present it a little bit better. So please do tune in again next week to see how it looks then.